read a passage to you. Red-tailed hawks build their nest on tall buildings all over New York City, but only one nest has a 9-year-old girl living in it. Her name is Audrey. Let me introduce you to the author of Audrey, Obie Scott Wade, who also has a hit animated series right now on cable, both here and in all over the world, actually, called Shizao. Obie, are you with us?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. And Obie, one thing that's interesting, and you look at some of the work that you've done in your career, Julius and Friends, working with the Paul Frank Monkey to create an animated series online. Shizao is both through cable and over the web in different countries, and then Audrey, you were able to self-publish. How important has the web been to content creators like yourself?
Unbelievable. It is what I do now, and it has been for a while. Julius and Friends that I created with Paul Frank was the first kids and family internet series, and it ended up in a lot of film festivals, including Sundance, and won awards. But it was 26 episodes, and the monkey was voiced by Jason Schwartzman. So we put together an incredible production that was distributed by Mondo Media up in San Francisco. And Mondo has become one of the top, if not the top, distributors of internet programming, especially in animation. Now, jumping ahead to Shizao. Shizao is produced digitally. It's done in Flash animation. And the entire production was done over the internet because I'm here in LA. One of our partners is in Canada. Another one is in Australia. And the studio is in Malaysia. So everything was handled digitally. It was an international co-production. And once the show was completed, after about 2.5 years of production, it is currently being broadcast traditionally over the airwaves, through cable and through online portals. For example, if you go to Finland or Australia, you watch it digitally. In Australia, it's delivered to homes through the ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, on one of their digital channels. So everything for me is digital.
So tell us a little bit about Shizao.
Shizao is a 26-episode animated series for kids 6 to 11. It's a comedy about a boy who accidentally becomes a female superhero. And it was on the air here in the United States on a network called The Hub, which was a cable channel that has since been rebranded into the Discovery Family channel. But Shizao's really found a home online on YouTube. All 26 episodes are on YouTube, and it's building a following in different countries. Right now, it's on the air in Italy, and Italy is having a similar reaction to it that we had here, because in the United States, it proved fairly, there was a bit of a controversy with some folks not liking the fact that this little boy works as a girl superhero, and then other folks at the other end of the spectrum absolutely loving it, and everything in between that you can imagine.
Right.
Same happening in Italy currently. So the Italian fans have been contacting me with great stories.
And so how do you manage a backlash like that as a creator?
You don't. You just kind of bend with it and wait for it to pass, because it always does. And you just kind of, there's nothing you can do.
And so has it been picked up for another season?
Not yet. There has been talk about it. There's been talk about possibly Shizao movie. I do know that we are doing a series of comic books that will start coming out next year. I think the first one's coming out around St. Patrick's Day. And there's now Shizao merchandise online that people can find through the Shizao Community Facebook page.
Or you could tap into the whole Limelight crowd and make it She-Zombie. But
I think that's a good idea.
So your latest creation is Audrey, which I kind of led off with by talking about her. Tell us about what led you to write this book and the experience of self-publishing.
Audrey is spelled Oddry, and that's because her story is a little odd. It's a little different. She is a 9-year-old girl who lives in a hawk's nest on the top ledge of a New York apartment building across the street from Central Park. And because she was raised by hawks, she can speak hawk and she can speak other animal languages because there's a lot of bird in Central Park. And but Audrey's never met another human being. She is human. She secretly wants to meet another person, but they think that if Audrey to meet people, humans, that they would take her away and put her in foster care or something like that, and they'd never see her again. So they don't. She's never been allowed to talk to another human being until today, the day that the story begins. Her life is about to change forever. And what inspired the story was a true story, actually, about a male hawk in New York who lives on a building on Central Park East. His name is Pale Male. And I really got intrigued by the fact that there was all this urban wildlife in New York and that there were people trying to take down that nest. And then there were other people who ended up saving the nest, and it's still there, and he's still alive. I think he's 25 years old now.
Wow.
And I went to New York and joined the people in Central Park who watched the nest through telescopes. It was really fun, and really wonderful people were there. And as I was looking through the telescope and I was watching Pale Male and his mate in their nest, I wanted to peek down inside the nest because I was wondering what was in it. And it suddenly dawned on me, wow, there could be anything in there. Maybe there's a little kid living in there. Who knows? And that's how Audrey was born.
Wow. But the nest, is it rain controlled?
Pardon me? I think so, yeah.
Important point in New York.
Yes, exactly. It's got to be.
So, you decided to self-publish. What was that like?
Well, it was a lot of work. It was, so far, it's been a great experience. It took me 10 years to write the book. I did it often in between animated projects. I would put it on the back burner and then bring it out, and I would, throw away whole drafts and start over. And I finally got the story that I really wanted to tell, and I just decided that I didn't want to submit the book to people who maybe didn't want to tell the same story that I wanted to tell. So I thought, well, here we are in this digital age. Self-publishing it's right there. It's a tool to use. And so I self-published through CreateSpace, which is an Amazon company. And I had all the services I needed there. I had editors, and then my illustrator for the book is a Japanese artist, a young woman named Mayo Yoshirino, and she is a fan of Shizao and had created tons of Shizao fan art, and she still does to this day, and I post all of her work on the Shizao community fan page. And I loved her work so much, I asked her if she would illustrate Audrey, and she did, and I couldn't be happier with the work.
Now, one of your earliest experiences was working with somewhat of a legend in broadcast and content, and who most of us know by the sweater he wore. Tell us about that.
You must be talking about Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
I worked for WQED Pittsburgh, but I was in the West Coast office. We had an office out here where we were doing post-production for all the National Geographic specials. We were doing lots of preschool programming for Fox Kids at the time. We were in production on Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. So when I would go to Pittsburgh, I would have opportunities to talk to Mr. Rogers, and actually ended up developing an idea that we took him that he really, really liked. And the experience was otherworldly, is the best way to describe it. Mr. Rogers has a countenance, or had a countenance about him that was unlike anyone else I've ever met, really. You just have to experience to know what I'm talking about. But you just kind of felt like all the stress left your body and you were just so safe with him.
Interesting. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but first we got to take a break for our sponsors. You're listening to Cyber Law and Business Report. We'll be right back with Obie Scott Wade after these messages.
Stay